Hola, film gods. Today is Monday, the 16th of March, recording this preview opener intro. I am Isusko Garcia. I'm the host of the Film Gods podcast. For all of you long-time listeners, you know we only ever try and bring positive vibes. We talk to amazing people that have got great stories. And for all of you first-time listeners, welcome. We are in our fifth year, started in 2019, so sixth year. Woo-wee! Of recording and documenting this generation of filmmakers, predominantly based in the UK, and for most part, predominantly based in short form, but we are expanding. As you know, I love my my sound effects noises. I guess the little roundup from where we were from last month: Netflix, Paramount fighting over Warner Brothers. That seemed to come to an end. Netflix kind of bowed out gracefully, and Paramount have now purchased Warner Brothers for what is reportedly to be 110 billion for everything. Wrapped it up, took it all on. Netflix bowed out and said yes, it was a superior offer, and for that superior offer, Paramount also had to give Netflix nearly $3 billion. I think it was about $2.8 billion as part of a breakup clause. So not only did Netflix not get it, but they got nearly $3 billion for the pleasure of not winning the bid. Only time will tell what Paramount Warner Brothers will bring. Will they merge? Because they already have a lot of those assets under management already in their main company. So could this mean potential job losses for those out in America and worldwide in Warner Brothers? Only time will tell. Gut instinct is probably yes. To make their outgoing smaller, try and streamline, yada yada, normal stuff. But the interesting thing that happened last week, and I read after I interviewed our guest, was that Netflix then acquired, post turning around and saying to Paramount, do you know what, go on, you win, hands up, that's it, we tried our best, we gave our best offer, we're not paying any more. They went and acquired an AI startup that was created by Ben Affleck, plus probably lots of other people. But Netflix have purchased it for what sounds like reportedly around 600 million. So it leaves them a few quid spare from the breakup clause fee that they got, or they will get from Paramount. But the interesting thing that I took from having a little look at what this company Into Positive do is it's an AI platform that isn't just prompt generate film, insert idea, output, end film. What it does is it ingests the rushes of what you have shot in the film, and then learns from those rushes to then help the post-production side of the filming process to be able to make amendments and changes quicker. I have to do a little bit more research on it, as I'm not 100% sure what it means for post-production. But initial take is I really like the idea of AI tools helping the human craft, not replacing the human craft. And from the way that they sell it on, you can go into Netflix and you type in Into Positive or wherever you search for, and you can watch the video. Now the video is very corporate. It's, the three of them sitting around talking about how amazing it is, which I guess they have to. But the underlying message that I got was AI is here. And I had a chat with someone not in the film game, but just in business. And one of the lines that they said to me, which really struck a chord, was AI won't replace humans, yeah. But humans using AI will replace humans not using AI, which is a really interesting concept for me to kind of say, well, look, it's here, learn it, understand it, try and harness it. Maybe as an AD, I can build something that helps me with scheduling. I'm sure the movie magics, etc. of this world are probably going to start, if not already, incorporating parts of AI into their software, into their system. So it's not something that I want to be scared about. It's something that I want to embrace, try and understand, because I think the more you understand it and the more I talk to these people that are using it, the more that I see that it is a tool. And yes, look, the world of social media has got 8-second clips, probably all generated from these, enter a prompt, boom, get a video. But from a human creative, long form and hopefully short form commercial, the AI tools that are being spoken about and being created are there to enhance and to help the artists, technicians, creatives inside our industry to maybe work faster, maybe use as a sounding board, maybe bounce ideas off. So check out and have a little look around the Interpositive. If I do more research before next month, then I'll have a proper chat about it. And who knows, if anyone's listening, Ben Affleck, get the guy on. Let's get him in. Let's do a proper chat about what he's doing, how it's being built, how it learns. Let's just get a real nice episode out there in the film gods with a massive Hollywood A-lister that's pushing the industry in a certain direction. But I liked what you said. It's an interesting video. There's other articles that maybe give it the flip side of the coin. So go and check that out. Obviously do your own research, etc. But I love you all. And I'm so pleased that our guest today came on because it's the side of life that I think AI has already been implemented in and has already been used as a tool. And the man that we've got on is such a genuinely lovely human being. It was a real eye-opener to kind of see how that world is working. It's a side of the industry that I hadn't spoken to before in post-production. So I had a great time. I think it's a great episode. You're going to have a wonderful time listening. So I guess at this point, all I can say is I love you. I send out full positive energy to you all. Anyone that's looking on the YouTube, you can see my hands are up on the screen. I'm praising the Lord. Holy moly. Or something along those lines. Have a great week. I hope the pencils are coming in thick and fast. I hope you're all getting onto film sets and seeing those human beings that you love, getting your team in, going and creating beautiful content, amazing, engaging film work. And ladies and gents, let's get to the episode.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So, ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of the Film Gods podcast. We have a fellow brethren, someone from my motherland who is not only a very lovely human being, but too so experienced in what he does. I had to get him on, and it's in a world that I don't really know much about. So it's going to be a really interesting one for me just to see how our world in production and our guest world interlay, and how everything kind of sticks and doesn't stick, and what we can be doing from a production side of point to help him out. So without any further ado, what is your name and what is your role on the call sheet?
Hello, how are you doing, Isusko? My name is Jordi Vares, and I'm normally the VFX Supervisor on the shoot.
Amazing. So getting straight into it, was VFX supervising always something that you wanted to do back in school, or how did you get into this world?
No, it was not, and it all started by mistake, to be honest. So
It always
yeah,
does. It always
total
does.
mistake. I did study architecture, and I found myself that I was very curious about understanding the light information on any building that I was designing, the sustainability factor. At that point, it was not called sustainability, but the idea was how do we manage energy, how we optimize to retain solar energy, which obviously in Spain is a lot of sun.
Yeah.
And by doing some visualization and building visualization, I attracted the attention of some of my teachers when I was in the university. And some of them were asking me to do the same for them. So they have their own practices. So I will pick the plans, build in 3D, do an illumination study that became then the posters that you see on the road. And so I
Mm.
learned a lot about print as well. And with it, I got called to help in Spanish television to do a virtual set. And I had so much fun doing that that one thing led me to do a commercial later. So it was completely by mistake, and in a way distract me from other things. So when I finished my career and started to working as an architect, I had a major shock of how awful certain situations were just post the Olympic Games.
Mm.
And it was such the scenario that I said, well, I'm going to continue doing this and I'll come back to this a bit later.
Mm.
And of course, 28 years later, I'm still doing this. Right?
You're still in it.
It is.
The industry sucks you in and keeps you in. I mean, that's amazing. So then how from kind of going from architect to doing a little bit in telly and commercials, what led to going full time and then coming over to the UK, or what's that story?
Well, if I'm honest, the thing that I found fascinating, it was like, for me at that point, it was a very technical exercise and you had to program and whatnot. So it was very fun and fulfilling. But the most important bit is that I was able to interact with people that will never normally have the chance to talk to even. Super talented graphic designers, incredible filmmakers. I knew nothing about film. I enjoy films, of course,
Mm.
but not from that point of view. So every single day was an incredible experience with incredible people. And in that sense, probably what I would say attract me the most is to learn how to tell stories. And I felt super happy and super proud and honored that I was able to be side by side these people and learn directly from them. And then at the same time, I was stretching my muscles on every job. Every job was a different challenge. So that's what kept me going on these. And then, of course, having the opportunity to come to London became again another mistake, another strange situation. So I was doing a conference talking about certain techniques that we were using and all that, and someone approached me to work on a movie in London just for TV. So I say, yeah, why not? So I came for 3 weeks, and 25 years later, still here. But again, it was no plan, and that's the
Yeah.
beautiful thing of this career is not that I have everything planned and I wanted this and that. I just stumbled onto those things and I took advantage and said, oh, I'm in the right guy, the right time, in exactly have the knowledge that it requires. And suddenly I found myself in an environment that was extremely welcoming and new. And from my point of view, obviously chaotic, which it was very uncomfortable at points, but I learned a lot from that, of course. So it has been a massive journey still today, and with it I have to recycle my brain in a way from
Mm.
the very strict way of thinking that you have as an architect, in which you have to do the drawings once and that's what you build and that's it,
Mm.
to the chaotic nature. And I say chaotic without the negative feeling, of course. The chaotic nature on filming, in which you embrace what's happening in the moment. You are really in this very organic, shape-shifting moment and becoming and extracting magic that otherwise will never happen, right? So I
Mm.
started to learn and enjoy that more than anything else. So that kept me going and going, of course.
Yeah, well, I just pictured the kind of the two Geordies running side by side parallel, like
Oh,
the architect imagine you kind of get on an architectural build, and someone goes, "Do you know where that wall is?" And we've spoken about that wall for the
Yeah,
last 6 months. Can we
yeah,
just move it totally to the other side of the building? And you're like, no. Whereas on a film set,
exactly.
it's like this wall that we've spoken about, we need to move it. Art department go boom, in, straight, boom, VFX, boom, straight. Everything just has to stay fluid. It's a
Yeah.
totally different mindset. I mean, that must have taken a while to just
Oh,
unlock the creative, let's just go
it,
with it brain.
it was hard. It was hard, but
Mm,
not because anyone made my life hard. No, it was hard internally for me
yes.
because I will work hard to have a plan and make sure I'm gonna do this way. I'm gonna get this data, and then things move fast, and I don't have time, and I need to improvise. And then, as you pointed out, what was meant to be left now is right, and so you end up having to adapt. And with it, at some point, you say, you know what? These guys have been doing this for 100 years. They really know what they're doing.
Mm,
Let's do one thing. Let's just trust them and go
yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
That happened quite quickly. In the, I think, fourth shoot, I already was like, yeah, this is not working for me in this way. I need to adapt. So I
Mm,
adapted to that. I was very lucky to work with some amazing people, directors, DOPs, and whatnot, and first ADs. And of course, everyone was very collaborative. And at the time, because visual effects was rising up, is not to the state that is now, that is become literally almost everything perfectly established. We were all of us together discovering how could do that, and
yes.
it was a journey of discovery for all of us, not just myself, of course. So I didn't have all the answers, but with them we could find the answers, right? And that became a fantastic journey, of course, of course.
So where did you, so you came into London, did you go into a company? Were you just rolling
Yeah.
around freelance, or what's that route in to kind of try and get some established work?
So I found myself in Spain giving this conference, and this friend of mine told me, "Look, Jordi, I have a project that I'm supervising in London. Would you be interested in helping us with the animation of these characters?" And yeah, of course. So I was free, so I said, "I'm gonna go there and freelance." Um, I landed at Jim Henson's Creature Shot, which was a
What?
dream. And I
It's
was like,
like you land in
how can I land here? And I
not some
remember,
2-bit nothing. It's like the
ah,
big boy. Yeah, yeah.
and I remember
Okay.
entering the building. Literally, obviously, nobody interviewed me because I was coming with this guy that were recommending me. So again, super lucky at that time. And I landed there, and there was some super talented artists there, like Alex Woodke, for example, and others that. And I was like, oh my God, these guys are geniuses. I never seen or dream of this was even possible. So I did my thing, of course. And I remember entering the building, and you will see the characters for Pinocchio, Labyrinth, all the model making. A lunch, I will go every lunch almost to see the model makers plucking hairs on the characters that they were designing
Mm,
for the next movie. So that was like literally a dream. And still is, I'm still a big fan of Labyrinth. So for me, that was incredible, right? So that exactly. So the three
yeah.
weeks turned exactly. You can get it. So after the first 3 weeks turned into 3 months, the project finished. I delivered my shots. I really love animation, and I have a particular knack for feminine animation and hands. That's the thing I love the most in animation. So after that, I started to look for work in other places, and I found another job at at a company called Slave Studios slash Passion Pictures. We were
Mhm.
doing a TV series for children. And after that, as I looked for work, and I was looking for a couple of companies, and one of them needed precisely my profile for a job. So they say yes, and that was the Mill.
Wow.
So I started at the Mill as an animator. I did a couple of jobs with them. They really liked one of them in particular, I believe, and that led to the possibility of working full time. So of course I say yes, I'm staying here
Mm,
because I saw the work they were doing, right? And I built my career on the back of those 10 years at the Mill, and then Framestore, Glassworks, and another place called Realize Studio, to now, uh, just when COVID started, I move into building my own thing with my own ideas, and here we are at Rotal building what I believe is the next stage of visual effects.
So lot there for me to dig into. I guess first thing, what I'd love to touch base on in a little bit is the mill, and we can touch base with what happened
Mhm.
in 2025 because it's a sad story. And I think towards the end of the ep, I want to get into what you're doing and how and where you see the industry going. But the first point from what you've just mentioned there, which really I think for anyone listening that wants to one get into post production, but two just into film sets in general,
Mhm.
there was a really insightful thing that you said where you kind of you got into the building for the first time and you're looking around and everything was exciting and new and fresh and huge and big and these big people. And you said at lunchtime I would go down to the model makers and I would see how they would put those little hairs in. And now
Mhm.
that to me, I kind of go, well, if I'm it one, it shows just a love of the process, but two, it shows a real passion for wanting to dig into the detail. Because if you do want to build
Mhm.
an animal with fur and you've seen how they've done it in real life to figure out how those points, what you're doing, you'll kind of feel like you're building up a library of life
Mhm.
and things and stuff and
Yep.
knowledge of how and what could be useful in the future, but without going, that's going to be really useful. You've just gone, I want
Mhm.
to try and gauge and learn as much as I can in this moment. So what did that time at the mill, how did that time at the mill feel? And just what are you doing kind of day to day to try and build up that Bible, that diary of stuff?
Well, I think that a few things in your life, anyone's life, kind of plant a seed that will stay there forever, right? And those things that you witness when you see a true artist with capital A, I never call myself artist, I'm a true artist building a model from scratch, with plaster and then silicone and then painting it and texturing with literally painting. That is not only something that marks you because of the respect that automatically it commands, that kind of level of craft. It makes you think, I don't know anything about any of these things, so I'm going to shut up and I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask the experts. And I think that one thing I say is to clients, like, I'm probably the laziest VFX supervisor in the world because I don't want to do them, if only do them if I need them to. So if what I did is I tried to push out of those experiences the energy to learn about filmmaking, about cameras, about lenses. I had the opportunity to meet incredible people on the journey, and I'm super grateful to all of them, of course, that allow me to dig further and further on those areas. So now, for example, when we're working on a certain project, and a good example would be a job we did a few years ago while I was at Glassworks for Honda, the Endless Road, in which we combined the techniques. And instead of trying to do the environment in CG, what we say, no, no, we can help you design the environment, but this should be a model. And we built the model, and it was incredible. I could not do that in 3D, period. So the reality is that all those experiences allow me to say, well, this is perfect for model making. This is perfect for an LED screen. This is perfect to actually do it in camera. Let's not forget the craft, right? And I
Mm.
guess that if there's any value I bring to the equation today, is that I can dive from that big bag of experiences and say, this should be done in camera. This I'm gonna do with stunt people. Let's not do any CG on anything at all. And for this thing, perhaps I can help you with these new techniques that are appearing now, right? So the experience as I was lucky once again at both Jim Henson's. I was lucky then at the Mill. I was lucky then at Framestore. I was lucky at Glassworks because you encounter this situation and these directors that play at this level, right? And with it, an incredible team around them, of course.
Yeah, I'm just going to push back. You say luck. A lot of people that would be in your situation would probably not be as inquisitive. And I think that luck comes from having the passion or the thought or the question of how does that work? And then that leads to something else, and that leads to something else,
Yeah.
and also luck. But if you go back, you took a massive decision to kind of go, I'm going to leave my home country, the country of my birth, and I'm
Yeah,
going to go and try and start somewhere else.
yeah, yeah. I mean, at that time, I was not thinking I would stay here for so long, right? But obviously you have to adapt. And I guess that one of the things that Spaniards really enjoy is this kind of adapting to the situations. We don't
Mm,
plan 3 months ahead to meet with someone. We just call and happens, right?
yeah.
And in a way, this is the thing. You see the opportunity, you grab it with both hands. Of course you do. So perhaps there is a factor there, but I don't want to. Sorry. I don't want to eliminate the luck factor because honestly, at the time that you speak with that person at the right time, the door opens and then you can enter. Without that opening, it is almost impossible. And I guess that with time and as the industry has matured, that's a little bit more complicated, right? Or from my side, I've been trying to obviously give back to the industry in England.
Mm,
Things that I have done is not only publish a free book on certain things, but then also help in the university, in Bournemouth University, to make sure the students there, in particular British students, have equal chance. Because at the end of the day, what has been happening over the last 20 years in England is that London has received an influx of super talented artists from all over Europe, incredible talent. The
mm.
kind of people that, let's say, in Germany have reached the very top, then come to London. So at the end, you're competing against the very top, and that's a hard thing
Wow.
to be. So being able to pass a bit of that, I think, has been very fulfilling. And some of those artists are now phenomenal in their own right. They deserve it, of course. Of course they do.
Mm. And so let's talk about then that kind of London UK market and what's happened over the last 20 or even in closer years, the Mill, etc. What was London always a hub, or did it just attract the right kind of people to come here to then start building? And from the point that you stepped in at the Mill or as a freelancer into Jim Henson's, how have you seen the change?
Well, I'm count myself like super lucky because I hit the right time, I believe. Perhaps a tiny bit late, perhaps 2, 3 years late. But the industry, two industries, the film industry and advertising industry, move slightly different, right? The advertising industry started to centralize in London at the end of the 90s, end of the 90s, as big corporations tried to consolidate all the operations strategic here, right? It was either New York or London, period. So the post-production houses and other companies and production houses in other countries in Europe, like myself, I found myself like, well, look, all the good work is going to London, so
Mm,
perhaps I should go there too. But in terms of film, I also witnessed how, in particular, post-production took off with a few movies happening here at that time. And in particular, the Mill won the Oscar for Gladiator. That flipped a switch, and then the big thing was Harry Potter, which I believe on the back of Harry Potter we have built a whole film industry here, and
mm,
all the big boss houses and many studios can should be very appreciative to the fact that Harry Potter was done here because it gave us years of work to construct and to build the right methods and compete with the American industry at that time. Obviously, yeah, subsidies or not, but the reality is that that consistent work, it created a massive pool of talent,
mm,
absolutely insane talent. And and after as the industry evolved and consolidated, techniques consolidated, things got easier and easier technically. Obviously, it has become more and more mechanized, and with it, financial firms start to invest, and things evolve in this way, in which bastions of the industry, like the Mill or MPC or Mr. X, have to shut down because financial operations or financial conditions, right? Which is, I believe, a horrible situation for
mm.
everyone.
Yeah, that big model, that kind of the Technicolor going down. I did a past episode on it, but not into too much depth, and I'm not that au fait with the finer details. But it seemed to it seemed like talk amongst people that I've spoken to, it didn't come as too much of a surprise that some of the bigger institutions of post production had kind of reached a Titanic kind of point that weren't able to maneuver and through whatever
Mhm.
ill mismanagement or whatever the circumstances of each case would be, that some of them were going to
Mhm.
eventually fall, collapse, have to close doors. Which is such a shame for all the people that worked in that industry. But knowing who we are and what we do in the film industry, yes, you bounce, you move. That luck that you've spoken about for I hope most have been able to kind of move on and find more work. And that has that model now changed indefinitely? Because I know that Framestore are doing some immersive. They're kind of adjusting. They're changing their framework. I saw that they've been in the news recently. So where are we now with it?
Well, I can only speak for the things that I'm more involved directly,
Yes.
which is more related to advertising than film, of course. In terms of advertising, it's changing in a brutal way at the moment, and we will see that by the end of this year, the real the results. I think we kind of again stumbling and finding new ways because the pressures of money cost going down are to a point that you have to reinvent yourself or else you die.
Yes.
So of course there are companies that are going to have, all of us are going to have pressure, of course, but there are some that are going to be able to absorb it and change. Others will struggle. Maybe a patch of bad luck that kills you, maybe a patch of good luck that propels you into stratosphere. Well, that's a fact. With the right people, you will fly and it will be all okay. But
Mm.
it is not a given. And if there's anything I learned from that is that that perception of safety that you and everybody had of going to MPC or the mill, because of course they will never collapse. Well, that disappeared instantly, right? For whatever reason, they found themselves in that situation.
Mm.
And it didn't come as a surprise after the fact, but I will never imagine that that will be allowed to happen and that someone
Yes.
will let the train crash and destroy the whole thing, right?
Mm.
But Technicolor had a massive debt, so the pressure on them was brutal for sure. In terms of film, I guess the film the 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 essence of film is different. You do advertising to sell products. You do films because you love it, right? It's a very
Mm.
different
You're
thing. You're
selling
trying to sell.
emotions. It's real human
Exactly,
beings having real emotions. Yeah.
exactly. And to me, the fundamental thing that has happened that is the best news of the year and probably the next future is that you cannot copyright AI, and therefore the film industry that relies on IP will hopefully survive the enormous wave that's coming.
Just dig
That's
into that a little bit. What so for listeners that don't understand how AI, IP, and that impacts film.
Yeah, obviously, if you are able to do films, but you are not able to copyright anything, that means that anyone can literally copy you, and good luck fighting them, right?
Mm.
Obviously, and if you are the franchise of, or let's say Marvel, you're not gonna want anyone to touch your heroes, right?
Yes.
So that is the best protection mechanism I believe can happen because AI train is here. That that will hopefully differentiate advertising, which will go more AI for sure, towards the opposite side, obviously, on film and TV, in which stories are king, as they should, of course, and the content has an inherent value and stays forever. It's not ephemeral like a commercial, right? So my take is that by having that recently happening in the courts in the US, because I keep watching these all the time,
Yes.
I believe that that's a great defense mechanism in the sense that it won't displace the things like it may happen in advertising, for example,
Mm.
especially if you go to social media, for example.
Oh God, my social.
Yeah.
There's times at social media you just see these videos, and it's like little 8 second, 10 second little
Oh,
jokey little things, but I think it's just a wash of fake videos, which, as you said, I think the advertising side of life is finding its feet, and there's the two strains of thoughts for me with AI, which is, and it was a conversation that I had with someone last week from a human perspective. They said, look, AI is a tool, and AI won't replace humans. Dot 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 yet. But humans using AI will replace humans not using AI,
Yeah, I agree with that.
which is a really interesting take on it. Because as you said, it is here, it is going to do something. We're the
Mhm.
generation, we are the people that will try and corral this, crazy dot, or this raging bull that's just roaming through the
Yeah,
streets of
yeah,
creative Soho town.
yeah.
And so what are you then doing then specifically to try and either retrain or
Well,
look at things, or what tools are you using?
well, we have been at the forefront of it. In
Yeah.
fact, I believe we are probably one of the most advanced in London doing that. And the reason I say that is because to me it's another tool, and my interest is I don't want to weaponize it. I don't want to replace an artist. If anything, I wanted to empower him, right?
Mm,
So my point of view is that yes, is another tool that multiplies your capacity, of course, and used the right way in the right context, it could make sense, and it does make sense, and opens possibilities otherwise will render the project impossible, right? So
mm,
in a way, in that case, is an enabler. You actually enable a project because that can be done nowadays, right? On other scenarios, you can save shots, otherwise will end up in the bin. For example, we found a situation in which there was this hero shot. The director loved the performance, but there was one guy on this aeroplane looking to camera, so at camera. So of course, what do we do? In the old days, we will kill the shot. In our days, we just change him where he's looking, and that's
mm.
it. And he respects the performance and everything, which meant that that shot now was viable, right?
Amazing.
So to me, AI helps on better communication with the clients because the processing 3D in particular is painful. It helps the taking of decisions because now that you see a proper rendition of things, you can say, yes, this I can take an informed decision now. It accelerates a few things that before were very painful in my side on CG. So
Hmm.
it's replacing or improving a few things in CG and it's improving a few things on the filming, but I refuse to even suggest to a client eliminating a drone shoot if possible, right? Or a car shot. You film the car from real. What are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
But and it may be people that look at it from a different angle and they will go full on certain things, and that's perfectly fine, but are really not interested in killing the craft. And in fact, I'm a big believer that craft will become the luxury, being able to really craft it and make sure it's not perfect, that it's human, is going to be the most
Yes.
valuable thing. And you can start seeing the best fashion brands are already doing that. They're hiring illustrators rather than doing AI because they want that human mistakes and craft, right?
Mm.
I think we're going to see that in the same way that filming with Kodak is having a resurgence with all the young directors because they understand the value, right, of what it forces you to do.
Mm.
I've done a lot of work with in film lately with some of the directors we work with, right? And there are directors that refuse, plainly refuse to work in digital. So fine. And they have their own style, they bring their own thing. So that's what they bring in. So I believe AI is a game changer in certain areas, and it's up to us to define how far we want it to go. I think the outcome for me is that we should collaborate more because we could help each other a lot more
Mm.
and bring back that spirit of pioneering that we had during the 2000s that became a sausage factory in a way, which is what we are at the moment. That's the reality. Like I want 3 kilos of VFX and 20 kilos of animals and 5 kilos of explosions. That's really what it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I need a discount as well, right? That kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Once we go back to a more sensible thing, more filmmaking and less explosions for no reason, once we go back to real stories, I think that all those things will settle. And we are
Mm.
there. People, to be honest, the audiences are exhausted. And then the numbers on the films, you can tell. People want to see great filmmakers doing great stories, not
Yes.
just go there and see explosions. Yeah.
No, and that's a really interesting point because there was something earlier at the end of sorry, at the beginning of 25, where there was an article from, it was in the Guardian and a few other newspapers picked it up, where Netflix were kind of telling script writers to make things really simple, dumb down the scripts, all the rest of it, and you kind of think, well, we're at a point now where, I mean, the business has always been a business. It's always needed to make money, but the
Of
art
course.
and as you said, the craft should always be at the forefront. There's always going to need to be, jazz, elevated type music, Christmas movies,
Mhm.
and whatever, etc. But I just,
Mhm.
you're right. The cyclical nature of human beings.
Mhm.
Like even if you just look at fashion, I'm like the teenage kids are now wearing the clothes that I was wearing, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my dad's generation would probably look at it. So it's we're exploring something for the first time. It's like we've come into this
Yeah.
big sweet factory of new stuff, and everyone's gorging themselves with sweets. But actually, at some point, you're going to get sick, and you're gonna want to go and eat a salad. That's where I'm feeling at the minute.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And this is things will stabilize at some point. I think we are in an unstable moment. A good example, by no means I won't mean any disrespect to this company in particular, but Boeing is a good example. They're the pioneers in aeronautics. They design incredible machines, the Boeing 747. That was a company run by engineers, and they were the most successful by far.
Hmm.
The accountants came in, and what happened? They freaking destroyed the company. And now
Hmm.
we're going to see a resurgent back of engineers taking over. At least I hope so. Otherwise, they're going to go down.
Yeah.
In the sense that the values that go through the whole company are the values of an engineer. Obviously, the company has to make a lot of money, of course, I get that,
Yes.
but not at the expense of the safety of people, right? And in a way,
Hmm.
in filmmaking, we are now at a point in which I believe we are in a point of perfect moment of rebalancing, in which we go back to stories and say, well, we don't need 3,000 shots to do of effects to do this movie a success. Uh, Jurassic Park had 60 shots or 80 shots and was still today incredible, right?
Amazing.
So and it hit the right spot also on the entertainment front, right? So to me, I think I'm looking at it very optimistically, of course, but I think we're gonna restabilize and start to understand our role in the same way that as visual effects artists understood our role like 10 years ago, because we didn't even really know where we were at the time. Now we're going to start to see value in the craft a lot more. And all this extra noise that you were mentioning about commercials in Instagram, that slop, that will fade away, and brands will refuse to be associated with it if you're doing advertising because it will take the value of your brand down like a rock.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. The moment you do cheapo stuff for no reason, just to fill your stream of, you will be instantly flagged like a cheaper
Hmm.
brand. That's it. You're not recovering from that easily.
Come
So
on, Jordi for
no, I
president.
will tell the brands to
Let's
be
go.
very careful. Honestly, I will tell the brands be very careful what you do there because you can easily
Yes.
be in the pot, right?
Yeah. So
But
then let's
those,
let's let's touch base on, because and tell me if we can talk about it or not. But we popped into the office just to say hello and have a little chat, and you were
yeah.
doing something really amazing with the dome. Is that something we can talk about?
Yes, 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 yes. The project
Because I
finished.
think that those kind of projects is for me
Mhm,
a highlight of what you're saying. It just really kind of stresses the point where
mhm,
as as society and experiences are moving forward, having the tools available through AI to be able to maximize your work productivity
mhm,
in a
mhm.
minimal amount of time to allow them for changes seems like a really smart thing. So just let's, if we can, just talk about how that was used and how you thought it went.
So we did a project for Las Vegas Sphere, and that project was for the brand Peloton. They sell the static bicycles and a lot more, right?
Yep.
And they designed this beautiful commercial, was done by Future Deluxe, a company in London doing motion graphics and advertising. They are incredible. And we did the commercial that went to Las Vegas Sphere, to the dome. There are in Las Spheres, there are two screens. The exterior screen, they call it the X Sphere, and
Hmm.
the interior one. So this was for the outside while the Grand Prix in Las Vegas was happening. So basically, you will see one of the Formula One drivers down the straight, and this has this massive spherical screen showing your commercial, right? And obviously, the whole planet can see that, and all the people there take photos on Instagram and whatnot.
Hmm.
So it was very important, and the deadline was critical because that's the day that you need to submit it. Otherwise, you're not in the screen, right?
Yeah.
So because the creative was so critical because of the form of the screen, what we did is got a director in to help us and design the film, the commercial, and I don't want to call it film, the commercial, and make sure that it played well for the sphere because the sphere has its own characteristics, and your stories on a screen like that need to be very well designed for it. Not everything works. So so we did a few rounds of it, being able to show the work in progress as you will normally do, with some things with AI, and then once we got approval, then we crafted all by hand, right? And then we delivered that on time, went through the QC process, which is super difficult with them, of course, rightly so, because it's so big.
Yep.
And and with it, well, we not only enjoyed it a lot, but of course, put through this test our systems because those screens are enormous. They're huge resolution.
They're
The exterior
massive.
is 6K, but the interior is 15K.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is insane. Just rendering that is insane.
Because I saw there was a UFC. I think they had a fight. There was a Day of the Dead thing. They've like
Yeah,
bands of like these massive screen experiences. They're not, what we shoot 16:9, 9:16, blah blah blah. They have to be their own world. They have to
of course.
expand, and it's bigger than the eye can or the camera, I guess, can take
Yeah.
in.
And we're going a bit towards that. That's something I'm very interested in, naturally, which is the experiential side of storytelling and advertising, right? Because for many people, watching TV, that just doesn't happen anymore, right? So
Mm,
watching a movie on our BBC, well, is a rare thing for me at the moment, right? Well, a few years ago, it was the norm. And now, of course, we live in a hyper-competitive environment. So my son and my daughter, they're on the phones all the time, like
mm,
probably yours too, right?
yeah.
So they value authenticity and experience. So all these big events, Outernet here in London, Las Vegas Sphere, any massive screen concert, that has inherent value because it's a full event. So, and I think that in a way storytelling in some areas is adapting a lot. Museums are adapting, for example, with big
Mm,
screens now too. So it goes to show that it is an evolving thing. It's not just BBC and a few other broadcasters that we need to cater for. It's huge amount of range, right?
And then moving.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was going to ask. It's like with everything that's happening and technological advances and creative, I don't know, not quicksand, but everything just all kind of thrown up in the air.
Mhm.
What are you doing, and where do you see us going? What's the Mystic Meg future ball color telling you of where could we land? Where could we be this time next year or in 5 years?
Well, if we are to survive, us as a company, Rotal, I think we need to move a little bit closer to the story brainstorming and creation with our help, with our friends and partners, basically. And that means assisting them more, make sure that they can exploit the latest tools that we have available, and expand with those directors ways of telling those stories that they want to tell, and then expand also the portfolio of things we can do. So, for example, if until now we have been doing 30 seconds and cut downs, now we're starting to do massive screens, right? I think there is an appetite for content, clearly, enormous appetite for content. But it's true that also storytelling is now being affected by the short-term approach of things. You can see now, for example, my daughter watching YouTube while at the same time texting via WhatsApp, while at the same time doing her homework, which is insanity, right? So I think,
Multitasking at its height there.
yeah, unbelievable, honestly. I really get frustrated. So what I think that's going to happen, we're going to start to see a change in the distribution platforms. I think YouTube is going to become super strong, much stronger
Mm.
than it is now.
Yep.
And we're going to start to see creators becoming the new filmmakers and getting
Mm.
more and more power.
Mm.
And we will see those creators becoming very established big companies like
I like
Mr.
the
Beast
Mr.
and the
Beast.
likes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at the end of the day, they have the audience, and that's
Yes.
that's what it matters. And they have the distribution channels. Now
Mm.
they don't need anyone else, really, isn't it? As long as they play by certain rules, they everything is done for them. And we're gonna see commoditization of certain things, and being able to press the buttons is no longer enough. You need to bring something to the party, and I think that's where we need to be in. And for anyone that is doing films and filming on set, I don't think you need to worry. You bring value every day. But
Mm.
it's true, there's going to be more pressure to do certain things faster and cheaper. And there are some areas that will now be taken over by other technologies. It's true. In the same way that LED screens have been growing a little bit, and you can see more and more work going through that. That's one more approach, right? This will be yet another approach and
Mm.
combinations of. But I don't think you can replace an actor. I don't think so with an
No.
AI actor. I mean, you
No,
can
they
stick
tried it,
together.
didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, and in fact, I did a test for myself, which I'm showing to the clients. I did a test myself. I did a full AI commercial by myself in one day.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I, I mean, I believe the design is nice and all that, but the story is so shit. It's so bad that, and I didn't do it on purpose. It's just I'm not a director.
Yes.
So I showed them to say, look, you're still not a director, and the proof is this. I tried my best, but this is it, right? So the point is those core skills are not going anywhere. If anything, it's more important than ever.
Yes.
Being able to tell a story, why you're telling that story is critical, right? But generating the image is not going to be that hard anymore, right? Now it's going to be more people are going to have access. New
Mm.
filmmakers may appear. The old school filmmakers that don't adapt may suffer a lot. Yes, it's true.
Mm. Yeah, I think that kind of attitude to change is one that I think the reality is the only people that are slightly concerned about that are the ones that have been doing it for a little while and are used to a certain way. If I was a teenager again
Mhm.
and or in university, I would be loving the fact that I can be making a short film in
Yeah.
AI and using all these tools exactly how
Mhm.
I think that kind of attitude to what is the next generation of filmmakers one going to be used to seeing on screen, and two, what have they learned and what environments have they come up through. And I think you're in that pivotal great point where you know how it's done, and I say quote unquote properly, but you
Yeah.
know the process is to be able to create things
Mhm.
in reality, not
Yeah.
just through a prompt. Anyone
Yeah.
can type into whatever and say give me a video of a cat
Exactly.
jumping into a whatever. But I think
Mhm.
that attitude to where we're going, what we've done, and the knowledge that we have, you're right. The value that you have is now more important probably than ever
Yeah.
to see this change through.
Yeah. And I will also to point out something because it's very easy to assume, oh, you have certain age, therefore you won't adapt. And that's not true. You will be
Good point.
surprised
Yeah, good point.
because I'm not in my 20s or 30s, believe me, but I'm eager to adapt fast. And we were
Yes.
talking about directors the other day, and there were these companies, oh, he will never do that. He will never do that. Yeah, but this other director under your book, he will instantly pick it, right? And
Yeah.
he is what, 60 now? So the point, they will say, yes, actually, he will love it. I said, exactly. So the point is
Mm.
for us to keep an open mind, give it a go. You hate it at first for sure, but
It's
rinse yourself.
frustrating. It's
Yeah,
so
oh, of course, of
frustrating.
course, of
Just
course.
change that one little, see this
Yeah,
cup with the
yeah,
pens in and that
yeah,
little rubber on the top of the, just change
yeah,
that little
yeah.
rubber on top of the pens. Boom.
Like,
All of a sudden it's turned into a totally new scene. You're like, what have you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
done?
And this is one of the things that we have been investing time and money over the last 4 years is we need to have the same level of quality, the same level of control
Mm,
that you have today with
mm,
CGI and filmmaking.
yes.
We are not there 100%, of course, but very close, very, very close, in
Mm,
the sense that we can now go there and say, this is the exact camera I want. Don't give me anything else. This is the exact movement I want, the least, not something else. And this is the character doing exactly this. But the rest, you play with it and
yeah.
give me 30 options. And then from there, I will say, okay, this option, this will I mix it somehow and give me something else. My take on it is that when using these novel AI tools, you want to think instead of you're using CGI, you're actually doing some virtual filmmaking. And you need a filmmaker for that.
Mm,
You need a wardrobe artist to help you with the wardrobe, right? And so on and so forth. So you just keep an open mind, try a few times because it may not be for the correct tool for this particular project you are on today, but tomorrow you say, well, actually that shot could benefit from that.
yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And it's a, I mean, a wonderful time if you can embrace what's coming and the changes and adapt and
Apologies for that.
be as open to the future as those people were when the internet came. Those people were when digital cameras came. Those people, it's
Yeah,
it is a tool and it's
exactly.
going to help those people that allow it to help them. And say
Exactly.
for instance, I had a director last year did a commercial. Very much, it wasn't AI, but it was a very good previs. And you kind of
Yeah.
go, well, one, that's a
Mhm.
brilliant thing to have given me because now I know exactly where you're thinking, exactly what you're looking at. Instead of just seeing it down as a storyboard and you can have to assume where things are, they kind of programmed the set in, they built a
Mhm.
3D render, they kind of look at it, and the previs was wonderful. But what the previs doesn't do or AI could ever do are those funny little mistakes and happenances that
Exactly.
happen with camera or a performance or a prop or something that just cannot be planned for.
Yeah, and actually, the way I look at it is that you do in the previous, so you can be well prepared on set. Is
Yeah.
not to lock you into things, which is one of the dangers sometimes. And the best I've seen is doing a visualization for a director going to set. He looks at the shot and then he changes his mind and reassembles because suddenly the shadow is telling him that that composition doesn't work, right?
Mm,
And but he knows exactly the kind of shot he's after. He can play continuity in his head because he can see that. So to me, that is a tool to take better decisions, not to replace anyone. And this is exactly the same thing.
mm. All right. Well, look, we get to the 45-minute mark, which we're at
Yeah,
now which is
yeah.
absolutely flown by. And we always finish the film gods with the two questions. And before I get into it, I just want to firstly say thank you because coming into a conversation where my level of knowledge is minimal and
Mhm.
my experience is minimal, and on set most of the time you kind of the phrase "we'll fix it in post" seems to just get bounded about
It
more and
happened a
more
bit,
now.
yeah.
Um, and just thank you for coming on and just and telling us your story. But just on that fix it in post thing, is that a useful thing for a first AD to keep saying?
Well, it happens a bit, but I always tell people, what you don't pay here, you will pay later. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you don't spend these 10 minutes filming this, you're going to spend 100 hours doing that later in post.
Yes.
Then, so I'm always very careful and I always try to be invisible on set and not derail the timing and the tempo of on the
Mm,
and the general flow because I know that it's better for me to fix those small tiny little things that are not really important and don't require a ton of effort on my side but make sure that this shot is properly done and they have time because once you have that that can be a nightmare, right? So I guess the experience that comes from years of doing this is that really the real values in this, not that. So I'm more than happy to accept, yeah, that's imposed for sure, I take that, but in a change make sure that you have time for that, please.
nice.
Or in that shot I know I need 10 minutes for this, you need to give me 10 minutes or else it's not going to work.
Yeah.
once you are into that relationship, once you have certain level of trust because you have worked a few projects with certain people, then everything is super easy. It just suddenly becomes second nature. But yeah, I think we all have to adapt. Like you adapt, we have to adapt too. It happens less, to be honest, but we need to make sure that certain things are not considered for free. Oh, we do this in pods, it's going to be less problematic. No, you're just moving the money from one pot to another. That's all it is.
Always comes back to the money.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
Okay. Well, look, this has been such a wonderful, lovely chat. I really thank you for your time. And now
pleasure.
we get to the last two questions, and the last question will be it's your acceptance speech, so you can tell everyone who you are or say thank you to who you want to say thank you to. But the second to last question, which I love everyone's different answers and different approaches. And historically, I've kind of asked, if you were speaking to the Jordi that was in Spain and was just about to come over, but actually, I'm just going to be a little bit more generic, just because we've touched on so many things, and the technology has played such a big part of the conversation that actually, if you were to have a question to your younger self at any point in your career, what would you now say to that person?
As a question,
Hmm.
I will ask him
Or what
to
advice? No, what advice would you
what
give? Sorry, I
advice.
didn't mean the question. Sorry, I
Ah,
didn't mean
okay.
a question.
I will advise him to be very passionate, like I believe I am still, and don't pay attention to noise. The noise is temporary. Just keep moving forward. I believe I've done that almost every occasion, but I guess that in a couple of occasions I regret not saying yes at the time, even
Hmm.
if I knew it was painful. But yeah, going for it unashamedly and make sure that you're bold and fearful. I think that served me well, very well. So I want more of that. If I was telling myself, I would say, yeah, go for it again. Yeah,
Yeah, courage. Just
yeah.
go
I feel
for it.
very
Enjoy it.
fortunate. So yeah, I will repeat it pretty much verbatim.
Yeah, good man. Well, thank you, Jordi. Yeah, this is now the last question of the film god. So, if there's anyone or anything, people, companies, etc., that you want to say thank you to, this is now your Film Gods Award ceremony winning.
Honestly, I think the best thing I can thank is for the welcoming nature of everything since I arrived to the UK. Both industry, individuals, everybody have been very generous, and hopefully I've been able to repay some of it. So I want to thank everyone that has been willing to give us chance, me and many other artists and operators that have been under this industry, right? And so obviously, hopefully we can keep working together and do amazing things. But yeah, I want to thank everyone that has been involved in this. Yeah.
Easy. Thank them all. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Well, look,
Honestly,
Senor,
everyone knows who they are. Yeah.
muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much.
Un
And
placer.
ladies and gents, I told you it'd be an amazing ep. So share it, subscribe, all of that normal stuff that you hear from podcasters. And until we meet again, ladies and gents, that is a wrap. So that was a chat with the king or queen in the game. I'll give it a shout at the end so you all know the name. It's the Film Gods Podcast. The what? The Film God Podcast.